For decades, she was known as the strongest pillar of the royal family, unshakable, disciplined, and fiercely private. But behind the walls of Windsor, something began to shift. Subtle at first, almost invisible, until it wasn't. What the Windsor medical team would soon uncover wasn't just concerning, it was devastating. And the most chilling part, it was something Princess Anne had quietly feared for years. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Princess Anne had long been regarded as the embodiment of royal resilience, a figure defined by unwavering discipline and an unrelenting sense of duty. While others within the monarchy faced public scrutiny, reinvention, or retreat, she remained constant, steadfast in her commitments and immune to the distractions of spectacle. Rain or shine, triumph or turmoil, Anne pressed forward with a quiet determination that earned her the reputation as the hardest-working royal. Her schedule was relentless, her demeanor composed, her resolve seemingly unbreakable. To the public and the palace alike, she was not just dependable, she was indestructible. But even the strongest foundations can develop fractures. And within the guarded corridors of Windsor, the first signs of change emerged so subtly that they were almost imperceptible. It began with fleeting moments, names that took a second too long to recall, appointments that required gentle reminders, conversations that circled back on themselves. At first, these instances were dismissed as the natural byproducts of an exhausting schedule and decades of tireless service. After all, Princess Anne had spent a lifetime pushing beyond limits, often prioritizing duty over rest. Palace aides, conditioned by her relentless pace, saw no reason for alarm. Even Anne herself brushed aside any concerns with characteristic resolve, attributing the lapses to fatigue and the pressures of an unyielding calendar. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet unease began to take root, an unspoken tension that lingered in exchanged glances and carefully measured conversations among her closest staff. As weeks turned into months, the subtle irregularities became harder to ignore. Trusted aides noticed deviations from her famously precise routines. Briefing documents required more frequent review. Familiar sequences of royal protocol occasionally prompted hesitation. Still, discretion was paramount. Within royal circles, privacy is not merely a preference, it is doctrine. Concerns were handled delicately, quietly, and with unwavering loyalty. Whispers began circulating among senior palace insiders, not with panic, but with a measured urgency. Something was changing, and those closest to the princess could feel it, even if they dared not articulate it openly. The decision to seek medical insight was made with the utmost secrecy. Appointments were arranged under layers of confidentiality, woven seamlessly into her existing schedule to avoid scrutiny. Windsor's trusted medical team conducted their evaluations with precision and discretion, their professionalism matched only by the gravity of their growing concern. Each assessment brought clarity, but not comfort. The atmosphere within the royal household began to shift, charged with an unspoken apprehension. Senior family members were quietly informed, their composed public appearances masking a deepening private distress. Behind closed doors, conversations grew heavier, punctuated by long silences and the weight of uncertainty. For Princess Anne, the unfolding reality carried a profoundly personal resonance. This was not an abstract fear, nor an unexpected storm. It was a possibility she had long contemplated in silence. Known for her pragmatism and emotional restraint, she had privately prepared for vulnerabilities that others preferred to ignore. Those closest to her understood that beneath her stoic exterior lay a quiet awareness, a lingering concern shaped by experience, observation, and an unyielding sense of responsibility. The strength that defined her now manifested in a different form, not resistance, but recognition. And as medical evaluations edged closer to a defining conclusion, the emotional gravity within Windsor deepened, binding the family in a shared but unspoken dread. But what began as quiet concern would soon spiral into something far more alarming, something no one in the palace was prepared to confront. There were signs, clear, undeniable signs, but they were buried beneath duty, protocol, and denial. Palace staff noticed, close confidence worried, yet the machine of monarchy kept moving forward, refusing to pause, because acknowledging the truth would mean confronting a possibility too painful to accept. And deep down, Princess Anne already knew what others refused to see. In the wake of mounting concern within Windsor, the subtle shifts in Princess Anne's behaviour began forming a pattern too deliberate to dismiss. What once appeared as isolated lapses and overlooked engagement detail, a repeated question during private briefings, a momentary pause when recalling familiar names, gradually evolved into unmistakable signals that something deeper was unfolding. For a woman celebrated for her razor-sharp memory and impeccable precision, these deviations did not go unnoticed. Equerries exchanged cautious glances. Private secretaries double-checked schedules with unusual vigilance. Conversations once marked by brisk efficiency now carried an undercurrent of quiet apprehension. Still, the rhythm of royal duty pressed forward, unyielding and indifferent. Enter personal vulnerability. Within palace walls, concern travelled in hushed tones and coded language. Senior staff, bound by loyalty and discretion, documented irregularities with careful neutrality, framing them as routine observations rather than warnings. Missed briefing nuances and subtle disorientation during tightly scheduled engagements were quietly addressed through increased support rather than open acknowledgement. Adjustments were made seamlessly. Shorter briefings, more detailed notes, discreet reminders delivered with practiced subtlety. To the outside world, Princess Anne remained the epitome of composure and endurance. But behind the polished machinery of monarchy, a silent network of protection had formed, designed not only to support her, but to shield the institution itself from an unsettling reality. This response was not born of indifference, but of tradition. The monarchy, an institution built on permanence and strength, had long regarded vulnerability as a private matter, something to be managed quietly, never displayed. History had reinforced this instinct, teaching the palace that public confidence depended on unwavering stability. Illness, especially one that threatened clarity and continuity, represented more than a personal challenge. It posed an existential risk to the image of royal steadfastness. And so the culture of quiet containment prevailed. Concerns were managed, not confronted. Adaptations were implemented, not announced. The system functioned exactly as it was designed to: efficient, discreet, and emotionally impenetrable. Yet within this carefully controlled environment, Princess Anne faced an increasingly solitary struggle. Accustomed to confronting adversity with stoic determination, she met these changes with the same disciplined resolve that had defined her life. She worked harder, reviewed documents repeatedly, and extended her preparation time, determined to maintain the exacting standards she had always upheld. Publicly, nothing faltered. Privately, however, moments of uncertainty grew more frequent and more difficult to dismiss. The realization did not arrive suddenly, but unfolded with quiet persistence, settling into her consciousness. With an unsettling clarity, she recognized the signs not with panic, but with a measured, deeply personal understanding that made the truth impossible to ignore. Medical consultations, initially cautious and inconclusive, offered reassurances that were both comforting and misleading. Stress, fatigue, the natural effects of an unrelenting workload. Each explanation provided temporary relief, reinforcing the palace's preference for continuity over confrontation. Yet the symptoms persisted, evolving in ways that defied convenient conclusions. Specialists were discreetly consulted, evaluations became more thorough, and the circle of awareness tightened among the most trusted individuals within the royal household. With every careful step toward clarity, the emotional weight intensified, pressing silently on a family and institution, unaccustomed to confronting such vulnerability in real time. For Princess Anne, the conflict was profoundly internal, a battle between acknowledgement and acceptance. She understood what the signs suggested long before confirmation loomed, but understanding carried consequences that extended far beyond herself, touching duty, legacy, and the enduring image of the crown. To accept the truth was to contemplate a future reshaped by limitation, a notion fundamentally at odds with the identity she had forged through decades of unwavering service. And so, she carried on, composed, determined, and quietly resolute, even as the evidence mounted around her, undeniable and closing in. As the warnings grew louder, the palace could no longer ignore what was unfolding behind closed doors. It happened suddenly, without warning. One moment everything seemed under control, the next, chaos, panic rippled through Windsor as emergency protocols were activated. For the first time, the carefully constructed illusion of stability cracked. This wasn't just another health scare, this was different, this was serious. And as the medical team rushed in, a terrifying question hung in the air. Had they waited too long? The moment unfolded with a speed that left no room for denial. What began as a routine engagement preparation quickly transformed into a scene of urgent concern when Princess Anne exhibited symptoms too severe to dismiss disorientation sharper than ever before, speech momentarily faltering, and a sudden loss of balance that shattered the fragile confidence carefully maintained within palace walls. Staff members, trained to manage crises with precision and composure, reacted instantly. Emergency protocols, rehearsed but rarely invoked, were set into motion without hesitation. Communications were locked down, movements restricted, and Windsor's trusted medical team was summoned with unmistakable urgency. In that instant, the quiet unease that had lingered for months erupted into undeniable alarm. Within minutes, the atmosphere inside Windsor shifted from controlled vigilance to palpable tension. Medical professionals moved swiftly, their calm efficiency underscoring the gravity of the situation. Initial assessments were conducted with clinical precision, yet the urgency in their demeanor spoke volumes. Every second carried weight, every observation deepened the concern. What had once been attributed to fatigue or stress now presented itself with an intensity that defied benign explanation. The realization spread rapidly among senior staff. This was no longer a matter of cautious observation, it was a full-scale medical emergency demanding immediate and decisive action. Word traveled swiftly through the palace's inner circle, reaching senior royals with a force that shattered their carefully maintained composure. Behind closed doors, the emotional impact was profound. King Charles, already navigating the immense pressures of monarchy and personal health challenges, was confronted with a new and deeply personal crisis. Prince William, known for his measured demeanor, responded with focused urgency, coordinating updates and ensuring that every possible resource was mobilized. Princess Anne's children, bound by a lifetime of admiration for their mother's strength, faced an unthinkable reality. The invincible figure they had always known was suddenly, unmistakably vulnerable. The emotional weight was immense, yet it was borne in silence, contained within the disciplined confines of royal protocol. As medical evaluations intensified, the palace machinery accelerated into a state of controlled crisis management. Contingency plans meticulously designed for moments of institutional vulnerability were discreetly reviewed and prepared for potential implementation. Senior aides coordinated with government officials under strict confidentiality, ensuring national stability while safeguarding the family's privacy. Public schedules were subtly adjusted, appearances recalibrated, and official communications carefully crafted to maintain calm. To the outside world, the monarchy remained composed and unwavering, but within Windsor's guarded corridors, urgency pulsed through every conversation, every decision, every silent exchange of concern. For the royal family, the emotional toll was both immediate and profound. Princess Anne had always been the embodiment of endurance, unyielding, tireless, and resolute. To witness her in a moment of fragility was deeply unsettling, a stark confrontation with a reality long feared but never fully acknowledged. Conversations once marked by cautious optimism now carried the heavy weight of inevitability. The protective reassurances of earlier months dissolved, replaced by a shared and unspoken understanding. The situation had crossed a critical threshold. This was no longer about precaution or possibility, it was about confronting a transformation that could not be reversed. And at the center of it all was a dawning realization that extended beyond personal grief. Princess Anne was not merely a cherished family member. She was a cornerstone of the monarchy's operational strength and symbolic resilience. Her sudden vulnerability exposed just how much the institution relied on her unwavering presence. The illusion of permanence, so carefully preserved, had fractured in a single, irreversible moment. What had once been managed in whispers now demanded acknowledgement, forcing the royal household to confront a future reshaped by uncertainty, and profound change. What the doctors would soon confirm would send shockwaves through the monarchy itself. The room fell silent. No one spoke. No one moved, because the words that had just been spoken weren't just a diagnosis, they were a confirmation of a fear Princess Anne had carried in silence for years. A fear she never voiced publicly, a fear she hoped would never become real. But now there was no escaping it. The truth had arrived, and it was far more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. The confirmation came with clinical precision, delivered in measured tones that carried an unmistakable finality. Windsor's most trusted medical experts, joined by leading specialists brought in under the strictest confidentiality, had reached a unanimous conclusion. The condition, serious, progressive, and impossible to ignore, would not yield to determination or discipline, qualities that had defined Anne's entire life, though its exact nature remained closely guarded within an inner circle, bound by loyalty and discretion. Its implications were devastatingly clear. This was not a temporary setback. This was a turning point, one that would reshape not only her future, but the operational and emotional foundation of the royal family itself. Princess Anne received the news with the composure that had long defined her public and private identity. She did not recoil, nor did she allow emotion to fracture her resolve in that moment. Instead, she listened with unwavering focus, asking precise and practical questions about timelines, capabilities, and responsibilities. Yet beneath that disciplined exterior lay a quiet devastation, an acknowledgement not of surprise, but of confirmation. For years, she had sensed the subtle shifts within herself, the fleeting lapses and quiet uncertainties that could not be explained away by fatigue alone. She had carried this awareness in silence, confronting it with the same stoic courage that had guided her through decades of relentless service. Now, the unspoken had been spoken, and the weight of certainty settled heavily upon her. For her family, the emotional impact was immediate and profound. King Charles, deeply attuned to both personal vulnerability and institutional responsibility, absorbed the news with a solemn gravity that reflected both brotherly love and sovereign awareness. Prince William, representing the monarchy's future, responded with quiet determination, his focus shifting instantly toward protection of his aunt, of his family, and of the crown's stability. Anne's children, Zara Tyndall and Peter Phillips, faced the moment with raw and deeply personal emotion. To them, she was not the indomitable Princess Royal, but their steadfast mother, the unshakable force who had always been their anchor. Seeing her confronted by an irreversible reality was a heartbreak that protocol could neither soften nor contain. Conversations became hushed, embraces lingered longer, and unspoken fears passed silently between them. Yet perhaps the most profound burden was the psychological weight Princess Anne had carried long before this moment. Knowing, suspecting while continuing to perform at the highest level, demanded extraordinary emotional endurance. Every flawlessly executed engagement, every precise speech, every unwavering public appearance had been underscored by a private question. Was this the moment something would falter? That quiet tension, sustained over years, had forged a resilience few could comprehend. But with confirmation came a paradoxical shift. The uncertainty that once haunted her was replaced by clarity, painful, undeniable, yet strangely grounding. The battle against the unknown had ended, only to be replaced by the challenge of confronting an inevitable future. Within the palace, the atmosphere transformed almost instantly. Strategic discussions began with renewed urgency, contingency frameworks were refined, and responsibilities were carefully evaluated to ensure continuity without signaling alarm. Every decision balanced compassion with institutional necessity, reflecting the monarchy's enduring commitment to stability. Yet beneath the calculated precision lay a shared emotional reckoning. The family was no longer preparing for a possibility, they were adapting to a reality. Princess Anne herself, ever pragmatic, became an active participant in shaping this transition, determined that her legacy would be defined not by decline, but by dignity, strength, and unwavering duty. And so, a new chapter began, uncertain, emotionally charged, and profoundly transformative. The monarchy, built on continuity and resilience, now faced a deeply personal evolution, one that tested not only its structure but its humanity. As acceptance gradually replaced shock, another, more unsettling realization emerged, lingering in quiet conversations and guarded reflections. But as the truth settled in, another question emerged: who else knew, and how long had this been hidden? Behind the polished image of the monarchy lies a system built on secrecy, and now that secrecy was being questioned. Had the palace known more than they admitted? Were there attempts to delay, deflect, or even conceal the truth? As whispers turned into accusations, a darker narrative began to take shape, one that threatened to expose cracks in the royal institution itself. In the days following the devastating confirmation, the atmosphere within palace walls grew heavier, charged with suspicion and quiet unrest. What had once been accepted as discretion now felt, to some, dangerously close to concealment. Questions surfaced in hushed conversations and guarded exchanges. When did the first warnings truly emerge, and who had been entrusted with that knowledge? Senior advisors, long united by a shared mission to protect the crown, now found themselves divided by differing interpretations of duty. For some, maintaining stability through silence was not just justified but essential. For others, that very silence had allowed a deeply personal and medical reality to evolve into a crisis that might have been confronted sooner, perhaps with less emotional and institutional strain. The royal household, an intricate machine powered by protocol and perception, had always prioritized continuity above all else. Public confidence depended on the illusion of unwavering strength, and any sign of vulnerability was meticulously managed. In Princess Anne's case, this instinct intensified. Her reputation as the monarchy's most dependable figure made the prospect of her fragility particularly unsettling. A subtle, set, ignorance of her condition surfaced over time. Adjustments were quietly implemented, schedules refined, engagements streamlined, and support systems reinforced, all without public acknowledgement. To palace traditionalists, this was not deception but preservation. Yet as the truth emerged, that distinction began to blur, giving rise to an unsettling question. Had the institution protected its integrity at the expense of transparency, and, perhaps, even Princess Anne herself? Behind closed doors, tensions escalated. Strategic meetings, once defined by precision and unity, grew charged with restrained disagreement. Medical advisors, communications strategists, and senior courtiers revisited past decisions with mounting intensity. Some argued that earlier, more decisive action both medically and administratively might have eased the burden now facing the princess and the institution. Others insisted that every step taken had been measured, responsible, and aligned with royal precedent. The clash was not loud or theatrical. It was controlled, deliberate, and all the more potent for its restraint. Trust, once implicit, now required reassurance. Long-standing alliances within the palace structure showed subtle but unmistakable signs of strain. This internal friction did not remain confined to strategy rooms and private corridors. Close allies and trusted aides, many of whom had devoted decades to Princess Anne's service, began grappling with feelings of quiet betrayal. They had noticed the signs, raised concerns, and trusted the system to act with urgency and clarity. Now confronted with the full scope of the diagnosis, some questioned whether crucial time had been lost in the pursuit of institutional composure. Their loyalty to Anne remained unshaken, but their confidence in the palace's internal machinery had been deeply unsettled. Conversations once marked by certainty became laced with doubt, and discretion, once a virtue, began to feel like a burden. At the highest levels of the royal family, the emotional and strategic stakes intensified. The monarchy's survival had always depended on its ability to control its narrative, but in an era of relentless scrutiny and instantaneous information, secrecy carried unprecedented risks. Senior royals faced an agonizing balance: uphold tradition and risk deepening suspicion, or embrace greater transparency and expose the institution to vulnerability. Each choice carried consequences, not just for public perception, but for the fragile trust within their own ranks. The realization was stark and unavoidable. The crisis was no longer solely medical. It had become institutional. Subtle shifts in behavior reflected this growing unease. Conversations became more guarded, information more tightly controlled, and loyalties more carefully assessed, the palace, once a fortress of unified purpose, now navigated an undercurrent of skepticism. Even as efforts intensified to present a composed and compassionate front, the internal fractures widened, fueled by the haunting possibility that the truth had been managed for too long. And as whispers grew louder and speculation edged closer to exposure, it became increasingly clear that containment was no longer guaranteed. As tensions rose behind the scenes, the outside world was about to catch its first glimpse of the unfolding crisis. At first, it was just speculation, a missed appearance here, a subtle change there. But then, the pattern became impossible to ignore. The public began asking questions. The media started connecting the dots. And suddenly, the carefully guarded silence of Windsor was under threat. Because once the world starts watching, secrets don't stay hidden for long. The shift was gradual, almost imperceptible at first, noticed only by the most attentive royal watchers. Princess Anne, long revered for her relentless schedule and unwavering presence, began stepping back in ways that felt unfamiliar. Engagements were quietly postponed. Public appearances grew less frequent, and when she did step forward, subtle changes in her cadence and composure did not go unnoticed. To the casual observer, nothing seemed overtly wrong, but to those who had followed her decades of precise and tireless service, the difference was unmistakable. The Princess Royal, once the embodiment of consistency, now carried an air of careful restraint that hinted at a deeper, unspoken reality. The media, ever vigilant and increasingly data-driven, began assembling the puzzle. Attendance records were scrutinized, past schedules compared, and emerging patterns dissected with forensic precision. Commentators who once praised her endurance now posed cautious questions, their measured tones masking growing certainty. Headlines shifted from admiration to inquiry, and inquiry to quiet alarm. Analysts revisited archived footage and transcripts, highlighting moments that, in retrospect, seemed laden with significance. What had once appeared as isolated deviations were now framed as part of a compelling and unsettling narrative, one that suggested the palace knew far more than it had revealed. Social media accelerated the momentum with relentless intensity. Observations spread within seconds, amplified by viral discussions and armchair analysts dissecting every gesture, every pause, every adjustment to her schedule. Hashtags surged, theories multiplied, and speculation blurred the line between concern and intrusion. Supporters expressed heartfelt worry, while skeptics questioned the palace's transparency. The digital sphere became a roaring arena of conjecture, where fragments of information were woven into elaborate narratives. With each passing day, the frowned, Eshaw mounted, transforming private concern into a global conversation that the palace could neither fully control nor silence. In response, official statements emerged, measured, reassuring, and deliberately restrained. They spoke of minor adjustments, the importance of balance, and Princess Anne's continued dedication to her duties. The language was calm, calculated, and designed to steady public sentiment without revealing the deeper truth. For a time, it worked. Loyal supporters accepted the reassurances, and the news cycle briefly shifted its focus. But the consistency of the palace's composure began to feel rehearsed rather than reassuring. The more carefully the narrative was managed, the more persistent the public's curiosity became. Silence, once a shield, now acted as a signal that something significant lay beneath the surface. Inside the palace, the emotional toll of this scrutiny was profound. Every public appearance carried immense weight. Every absence sparked fresh waves of speculation. Advisors monitored headlines and online discourse with relentless vigilance, recalibrating communication strategies in real time. Family members, already grappling with the emotional gravity of the diagnosis, now faced the added strain of witnessing Princess Anne's deeply personal struggle under an unblinking global gaze. For Anne herself, the intrusion was both frustrating and inevitable. Fiercely private and defined by duty, she found herself at the center of a narrative she could neither control nor escape, her lifelong strength now interpreted through the lens of vulnerability. The monarchy, built on the delicate balance between visibility and secrecy, found that balance rapidly eroding. Public trust demanded clarity, yet tradition demanded discretion. With each passing day, The gap between perception and reality narrowed, threatening to expose truths the parlor Sir had fought to contain. The world was no longer merely observing, it was anticipating revelation, sensing that a defining moment was imminent. But while the world speculated, the reality inside the palace was far more devastating than anyone could imagine. Behind the palace gates, the royal family was unraveling in ways the public would never fully see. Strength turned into silence. Composure masked heartbreak. Because this wasn't just about duty anymore, it was personal, deeply personal, and as each member struggled to process the reality, long-buried tensions and unresolved emotions began to surface in ways no one expected. Within the private confines of royal life, where tradition often outweighs emotion and restraint is second nature, the confirmation of Princess Anne's condition sent quiet shockwaves through the family's inner circle. The monarchy had endured scandals, crises, and public scrutiny. Yet this moment carried a uniquely intimate weight. Anne had always been the steady force, the reliable constant who required little and gave everything. Now, as her strength met undeniable vulnerability, the emotional equilibrium of the family began to shift. Conversations that once revolved around duty and logistics became heavy with feeling, punctuated by pauses that revealed more than words ever could. The reality was settling in, and with it came a profound and deeply personal reckoning. King Charles felt the impact with particular intensity, bound to Anne not only by blood, but by a lifetime of shared expectations and silent endurance. He found himself confronting a vulnerability that mirrored his own evolving reality. Their relationship, built on mutual understanding rather than overt sentiment, now carried an unspoken urgency. His composure remained intact in public and in council, yet in private moments, the weight of potential loss and institutional fragility sat heavily upon him. Prince William, standing at the intersection of tradition and transformation, absorbed the situation with resolute determination. Protective by instinct, he focused on reinforcing stability within the family. But beneath that resolve lay a quiet emotional strain and awareness that the pillars of his world were shifting more rapidly than anticipated. For Zara Tindall and Peter Phillips, the experience was profoundly personal and deeply unsettling. To the world, Princess Anne was the embodiment of discipline and resilience. To them, she was simply their mother, steadfast, pragmatic, and unwavering in her love. Witnessing her moments of vulnerability, however fleeting, carried an emotional gravity that royal protocol could not soften. Their responses were marked by fierce protectiveness and quiet grief, expressed in extended visits, hushed conversations, and a shared determination to preserve her dignity. These intimate moments, shielded from public view, revealed a family navigating heartbreak with courage, but without illusion. As Anne's role subtly evolved, the emotional architecture of the royal household shifted with it. She had long served as the family's stabilizing force, the one who cut through tension with clarity and anchored others with her unwavering practicality. Without her commanding emotional presence, unresolved tensions that had lingered beneath the surface began to re-emerge. Old disagreements, differing visions for the monarchy's future, and generational contrasts resurfaced under the strain. Discussions grew more charged, not out of discord alone, but from the immense pressure of confronting change while preserving unity. The monarchy's enduring strength, its emotional restraint, now revealed its hidden cost, as feelings long suppressed sought expression in subtle but unmistakable ways. Yet amid the strain, moments of profound vulnerability forged unexpected closeness. Family members who once communicated through protocol and shared duty found themselves connecting with newfound emotional openness. Quiet reassurances, lingering embraces, and unspoken understanding replaced the formality that had long defined their interactions. Still, this emotional awakening carried a bittersweet edge. Every moment of connection underscored the reality that time, once assumed abundant, now felt urgently finite. The weight of legacy loomed large, balancing the preservation of the crown with the deeply human need to cherish, protect, and grieve. Princess Anne, ever perceptive, recognized these shifts with characteristic clarity. Though determined to maintain her independence and purpose, she understood that her evolving reality was reshaping the family dynamic. Her quiet acceptance became a source of both strength and sorrow. inspiring unity while deepening the emotional gravity of the moment. The monarchy, long defined by its endurance, was now confronting its humanity in its most intimate form, and just when it seemed things couldn't get more overwhelming, a new revelation threatened to change everything once again. For years, Princess Anne carried a fear she never spoke aloud, a quiet, persistent thought that lingered in the back of her mind. And now, as the truth unfolded, that fear took on a chilling new meaning. Because this wasn't just a random twist of fate, it was something deeply connected to her past, something that had been quietly shaping her decisions all along. Long before the whispers began, and well before the medical confirmations shook Windsor's foundations, Princess Anne had developed an acute awareness of life's fragility. Raised within an institution defined by endurance and legacy, she witnessed firsthand the silent burdens carried by those bound to the crown. Moments from her past private obsess, Evers-Ation's family experiences, and the quiet evolution of aging within royal walls left an indelible impression on her. While others focused on duty as an abstract ideal, Anne understood its physical and emotional cost. She saw strength waver behind composed exteriors and recognized how swiftly certainty could give way to vulnerability. These impressions did not frighten her outwardly, but they planted a quiet, persistent fear, one she carried with stoic acceptance rather than resistance. That unspoken awareness subtly shaped the course of her life. Her relentless work ethic was not merely a reflection of discipline, but a deliberate choice, driven by the belief that time and clarity were privileges, not guaranteed. She embraced an unforgiving schedule, rarely postponing engagements and seldom allowing herself rest beyond necessity. To observers, it was the mark of unparalleled dedication, but beneath that tireless rhythm lay a deeply personal resolve to accomplish as much as possible while she remained fully in command of her faculties. Every early morning briefing, every distant journey, every unwavering public appearance was part of an unspoken pact with herself. To leave nothing undone, no duty unfulfilled. Privately, her preparations extended beyond her public commitments. Princess Anne approached the prospect of vulnerability with the same pragmatism she applied to state affairs. She ensured her personal and professional responsibilities were meticulously structured, fostering independence within her teams and clarity in her roles. She valued precision in documentation, continuity in leadership, and resilience in the systems surrounding her. These were not merely traits of an efficient royal, but the quiet safeguards of someone preparing for an uncertain future. To her closest confidants, there were fleeting moments brief, candid reflections delivered with characteristic understatement that hinted at her awareness. She never dramatized the possibility, never indulged in visible worry. Instead, she acknowledged it with calm realism, then pressed forward with unwavering focus. As the years passed and subtle symptoms began to surface, those long-held fears stirred with growing intensity. What might have once been dismissed as ordinary lapses began to resonate with unsettling familiarity. Each moment of hesitation, each fleeting lapse in recall, carried a weight far greater than anyone around her could fully comprehend. Yet she chose silence, not out of denial, but from a profound sense of responsibility. She refused to burden her family or disrupt the institution she had spent her life strengthening without certainty. This internal struggle, knowing yet not fully accepting, became a solitary battle, fought behind a composed expression and an unyielding commitment to duty. When the diagnosis was finally confirmed, it did not arrive as a shock but as a haunting validation. The quiet fear that had shadowed her for years had revealed itself with unmistakable clarity. There was sorrow, undeniably, but also a solemn recognition, an acknowledgement that she had understood her path long before others could see it. That realization carried a profound emotional weight, not rooted in panic, but in inevitability. It was the culmination of years spent preparing, consciously and unconsciously, for a moment she had always sensed would come. For those closest to her, this revelation was both heartbreaking and deeply illuminating. Her relentless dedication, her refusal to slow down, and her meticulous approach to responsibility suddenly formed a coherent and deeply human narrative. What had been perceived as unwavering strength now revealed an undercurrent of quiet courage, a life lived with deliberate urgency and profound awareness. The haunting truth was not just that she had been right, but that she had carried this burden alone, transforming fear into purpose and uncertainty into legacy. Now, with everything laid bare, the monarchy faces a question it can no longer avoid: what happens next? The truth is out. The illusion is broken. And now, the monarchy stands at a crossroads it never anticipated. Because this isn't just about one royal, it's about the future of the institution itself. How it responds, how it adapts, and whether it can withstand the emotional and public storm that lies ahead. The next move will define everything. In the wake of revelation, the monarchy finds itself confronting a reality far more profound than a single personal crisis. Princess Anne has long been the embodiment of unwavering duty, a figure whose consistency reinforced the crown's image of permanence and strength. Her vulnerability, now undeniable, has pierced the carefully maintained perception of royal invincibility. This moment is not merely emotional, it is transformational. The institution, built on continuity and composure, must now demonstrate something far more complex: humanity. And in doing so, it faces the delicate challenge of preserving its authority while embracing transparency in an era that demands authenticity above all else. Public trust, once anchored in tradition and reverence, now hinges on openness and emotional sincerity. The world no longer observes the monarchy from a respectful distance. It scrutinizes, questions, and demands connection. As Princess Anne's condition reshapes the royal narrative, the palace must navigate a fragile balance between privacy and public accountability. Every statement, every appearance, every carefully measured silence carries immense weight. A misstep could deepen skepticism, while genuine candor could forge an unprecedented bond with the public. The monarchy's stability, once rooted in mystique, now depends on its ability to evolve without losing the essence that defines it. Amid this institutional reckoning, Princess Anne's legacy rises with extraordinary clarity and power. Her decades of relentless service, her refusal to seek attention, and her steadfast commitment to duty now resonate with deeper meaning. What was once admired as discipline is now revered as courage. She did not merely serve the crown, she fortified it, carrying its burdens with quiet resilience, even as she confronted her own private fears. Her story transforms from one of tireless dedication to one of profound strength in the face of inevitable change. In this moment of vulnerability, her legacy does not diminish. It expands, becoming a benchmark against which future generations of royals will be measured. Behind palace doors, critical decisions are unfolding with measured urgency. Roles are being redefined, responsibilities redistributed, and long-term strategies recalibrated to ensure continuity without signaling instability. Prince William emerges as a central figure in shaping a modern monarchy, one that blends emotional intelligence with institutional strength. King Charles, drawing from a lifetime of preparation and personal trials, guides this transition with quiet resolve. The royal household, once anchored by Anne's unwavering presence, is restructuring itself in real time, balancing the emotional gravity of her condition with the unyielding demands of constitutional duty. Every decision reflects a profound understanding that the monarchy's survival depends not on resisting change, but on mastering it. Yet beneath these strategic maneuvers lies an emotional struggle that cannot be scripted or managed. The royal family, often perceived as symbols rather than individuals, now faces a deeply human test of resilience. Grief, uncertainty, and love intertwine with responsibility and expectation, creating a tension that reverberates through every private conversation and public gesture. The pressure to remain composed while confronting personal heartbreak is immense, revealing the true cost of a life lived in perpetual service. And yet, it is precisely this fusion of vulnerability and strength that offers the monarchy its greatest opportunity to redefine itself, not as an untouchable institution, but as a living, evolving symbol of endurance. The road ahead remains uncertain, shaped by forces both within and beyond royal control. Public perception will shift with each development, and the monarchy's response will determine whether it emerges diminished or renewed. What was once an institution sustained by tradition alone must now be strengthened by empathy, transparency, and adaptability. Princess Anne's journey has become a defining chapter in this transformation, a moment that compels the monarchy to confront its past, recalibrate its present, and reimagine its future. The illusion of permanence has been replaced by a more powerful truth. Resilience is not the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to endure and evolve in spite of it. Because in the end, this isn't just a story of heartbreak, it's a story of truth, resilience, and the cost of silence. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.